The Cuphead DLC is finally out, and I think it's amazing. I made this video because I love the DLC so much, and I just want to tell others everything about it, so I hope you enjoy. Some disclaimers before we begin. All of the footage in this video is not mine, and it will all be linked in the description. I promise it's not because I'm lazy, I just can't record my own footage, because I play on the Switch, and don't own a capture card. But in case you asked, I have fully completed the main game and DLC, including all achievements, so pretty much everything. What? S rank? No one actually does it. Whatever, anyway. I just want to let you know that there are major spoils ahead, obviously. So go and finish the DLC first. I promise you it's worth it. Alright, well now that it's been a week, we can continue the video. Finally, some things may be incorrect because it just isn't known at this point, so sorry about that, but I did my research. This video will be split up into chapters for the DLC. First, beginning and story. Second, weapons and charms. Third, bosses and levels. Fourth, secrets and map. Fifth is miscellaneous. And finally, closing. After purchasing the DLC and completing the first mausoleum, a clock-looking being tells you about Miss Chalice needs your help. So you set sail to the DLC island, which stands for the delicious last course. Pretty clever if you ask me. When you reach the island, you are greeted to Miss Chalice holding a cookie. This actually later reveals that it's a charm called the Astral Cookie. Mugman takes a bite out of the cookie and switches places with Miss Chalice, making her into a real boy! Cuphead follows her into Chef Salt Baker's bakery. Then the cookie runs out, turning Mugman back into his original form. That's when Chef Saltbaker tells of a pastry called the Wonder Tart, which will bring back Miss Chalice for good, with no body switching. But the ingredients are spread throughout the island and guarded by bosses. So Cuphead, Mugman, and Miss Chalice set out to slay the 5 bosses and make the amazing Wonder Tart. When you first get to the island, our favorite, because he is the only one, shopkeeper Porkrime has found new items to sell. 3 weapons and 2 charms. And of course, you get the charm to play as Miss Chalice. I'm going to talk about Miss Chalice for a bit. Obviously, Miss Chalice is a new playable character. Her moveset is a little different, being given a roll on the ground to avoid attacks, along with a double jump. She, however, does not have a normal parry. Instead, her dash counts as a parry, which since the island was made with that in mind, some parries are easier with her moveset. She is also gifted an extra heart. Now, most would think that this makes Miss Chalice an easy mode, but it is in place because while you play as a Chalice, you cannot have any charms. A pretty fair trade-off. Also, Miss Chalice has different super arts. The first is a vertical beam going up and down. Second is basically just an extra hit point. And finally, the third art is where Miss Chalice summons a barrage of souls that all attack from behind the player. It also leaves behind a parable object, just like the third super for Cuphead and Mugman. Alright, back to the weapons. First we have Crackshot. Crackshot is a very interesting weapon. At first when shot, it shoots out a projectile that doesn't have very much distance. But then, it shoots back out in any direction of the closest enemy. The reason I like this weapon is because if you are good enough to land the shots before it breaks, it'll do more damage. But if you're focusing on dodging, you will still do damage, making it very versatile. Its EX shot called P-Turret, which is very similar, shoots a projectile out not very far, but if you parry it, it will break and shoot at the enemy closest to it. Next up is Converge. Converge shoots out a 3-way electric bolt, making it easier to hit bosses, but it doesn't do much damage if it doesn't hit all the bolts. But to help you out, if you lock yourself in place, the bolts will come closer together, making you hit all 3, but you are also standing still. The EX shot called Electric Bolt, which is probably one of the best EX shots in the game. It shoots out a laser that is very fast and short, making it easy to hit on most bosses. Finally, we have Twist Up. Twist Up is a shot that can be difficult to hit, but can be very rewarding. In my opinion, it's very situational, but the feeling of aiming it perfectly is amazing, and it is very fun to use. For example, if you aim in front of you, it will go diagonally up, right, or left. Then if you shoot diagonally up, right, or left, it will hit right above you. Pretty cool. Its EX shot is called Cyclone Spiral, which shoots a tornado that twirls around you where you shot it. Next is the 2 charms. First we have the Broken Relic. I will talk about it later in secrets. Then last but certainly not least, we have the Parry Ring, one of the most OP charms. What it does is it gives you HP if you parry 1, 3, and 6 times. This means that you can have up to 6 HP with perfect damage. It does have one fallback though. While equipped, every time you parry, you will not gain any cards for X shots, which is not too bad. The parry ring is definitely one of the best next to Smoke Dash and the Broken Relic. The charms and weapons in this DLC all feel good and useful. There is none that feel useless or no reason to ever equip. Alright, now that you got your weapons and heart ring equipped, let's get to the bosses. The meat and potatoes of this DLC are definitely not a letdown. So let's get started. Before we begin, I want to let you know how I rank these bosses. Difficulty is my opinion, so you can find ones I find easy to be difficult, or the other way around. First up, we have the Moonshine Mob and Bootlegger Booby. I always love the names for these bosses. When you start the boss, you will see a bunch of insects in the corner. That's one nice touch for this DLC, is that sometimes the intro will reveal later phases for enemies. Anyway, you'll first fight the spider who walks between 3 platforms, calling in bombs that are proximity. Nice tech. He also calls in bugs that come from the background and fly across the respective platforms. And also some bugs that come in from the side and shoot green or pink rings of gas. Once defeated, he will fall and bring down a wind-up jukebox. Pretty classy. With a wasp, I think? Anyway, she walks back and forth on the second platform, while the jukebox has 6 lines that move 3 clockwise and 3 counterclockwise, which go off in a random order. On the first and third platforms, walking police bugs and gunpowder barrels walk from one side to another. After that, the snail is under the hat of the anteater. The anteater breaks the bridges and sticks his tongue out at you after a random amount of jukes. And once he retracts his pink tongue, he will shoot a ball of bugs. This phase is what makes this battle so difficult. I can't find a gun that reliably hits his nose because it moves from platform to platform too quickly, and the ones that aim for you, for some reason, try and hit the tongue, even though it doesn't count as a hitbox. Why? After defeating the anteater, the snail makes a fake knockout sign, which is a really creative and cool. Then as a last effort, the snail shoots sound waves out of his megaphone, sometimes parryable. When you defeat them, you are giving the distillery dough. Next up, we have Esther Winchester and High Noon Halupa. This is the only plane level in the entire DLC. First off, the cow will switch between being on the top part or bottom part of the building. She will do an ink attack that when it hits the back of the stage, it turns into ink dragons that will fly from right to left. Next is a small flying cow that goes from right to left, and when it reaches the left, it will shoot a spike ball that can be pink. Then there is a bird that flies from the top of the screen left to right and drops a dynamite that when it lands shoots 3-way, then a 2-way of projectiles. The cow will also do an attack where she will rope something to the left of the screen and pull a cactus to the screen. In the second phase, Betsy opens the house and pulls out a vacuum and pulls you in along with the money. She then shoots it out into spaces that burst open and fire money at you that can be pink. After that, she gets sucked into the vacuum and becomes meat. Wow. She will switch from top to bottom, shooting out T-bone steaks that can be pink. There are also cans of hot dogs that stretch out at you in either up or down. Finally, she turns into a can of hot dogs and shoots 2 lines of hot dogs that overlap going up and down. She'll also shoot 5 wave peppers that can be parryable. Once you defeat Old Betsy, you'll get the Desert Lions. Our next fight is against the Halloween Aces in Doggone Dogfight. At first you would be hesitant to call this a plane level, but you are technically using your normal abilities, you're just standing on a plane. This plane is being driven by your old friend who definitely knows how to drive it. Glad he's back. The fight starts showing a later phase, which is really nice when you notice it. At first the dog does 2 different attacks. One where he makes Bones shoot out of his tattoo that can be pink, and also picks up Tom the cat to shoot yarn balls at you. This all happens while tiny dogs throw tennis balls in a 3-way pattern. Also, later in the phase, fire hydrants attack from you from the top of the screen. The plane breaks open to leave the puppies to attack you with their jetpacks, spinning around clockwise, shooting letters that can be pink. The letters change from B-O-W, which doesn't make much sense to me, so you can tell me what you think in the comments. Just shoot them until they fall out of the sky. The final phase is with the chief dog and her plane. It starts with lasers that you can hit that shoot in specific patterns. And usually at the end there's one that shoots a pink laser at the bottom. The whole POV switch is making it hard to dodge the easy dog dishes. That's what the art control means if you want it to be normal or go with the direction it's facing. There's also a secret phase. If you decide on the second phase to not kill but make all the puppies have a gray trail behind them, the plane dog will eat them and bring them to a different third phase. There are holes in the plane that would normally have laser guns are now with the puppies and the chief. The puppies will throw pineapples that can be pink, and fire jets will come from the top. Once you get the knockout, you are given the pineapple mint, which doesn't make sense because if you don't get the secret phase, there are no pineapples in this fight. Before we move on to the next fight, I want to change music real quick, so there we go, much better. Then we have Mortimer Freeze and Snow Colt Scuffle. The first thing that this wizard throws at you is 4 frozen water drops that hit the floor. Then they get up and chase you. Then he has a fortune teller table that shoots cards that can be pink. Then he will grab a whale and slam it down on you. After a bit, he will transform into a snowman. He attacks you by rolling and jumping at you. He will also turn into a fridge that shoots ice at you that breaks into smaller pieces, while also shooting out ice pops that fly at you and can be pink. He will also slam down, making swords come out of the ground to hit you. Finally, he will turn into a snowflake. He will attack you with his eye that shoots lightning at you. The wizard inside will shoot buckets that can be pink. He will also shoot out a worker at an ice cream store that leaves behind ice cream that shoots toward the middle. Once a mad wizard is taken down, you will be rewarded with the icy sugar cubes. Last but not least, we have Glumstone the Giant and Gnome Way Out. This boss starts with a mountain being mined out and comes to life to fight you. First, he has gnomes that climb up the platforms and attack you with a hammer, and ones on the ground that shoot yellow beads at you, and of course the ones in the ground that spike up when stepped on. He decides to attack you with geese that fly to the top of the screen from right to left and raise the platforms you are standing on. Then the beast will open his mouth and 2 gnomes making some goop in a cauldron, making clouds rush to the left of the screen can be pink. He also uses a cat and brings it to the middle of the screen. He will then pull off his beard and grab 2 puppets that throw back and forth a ball that you can tell where it is going based on the height of the 2 puppets. All of this happens while gnomes jump out of the floor at you. Finally, the beast gets mad, breaks a platform, and eats you. This will leave you fighting something? I don't know what this is. Gnomes will still attack you by shooting needles that go from one side to another. And the thing you fight will shoot chicken legs at the 5 platforms, making them sink into the acid. It will shoot a bone at one, which makes it fling its tongue out. You can parry to reset them all. After taking down this foe, you get the gnome berries. While you are fighting these foes, you will come across a ladder that comes from the sky. If you decide to climb it, you are greeted with a king from chess named... Actually, I don't think he has a name. Anyway, he tells you to fight his challengers, but you can't use your weapons or charms. There are 5 of them, but something special is that they are all chess pieces. Pretty cool. Oh, and you kill them by parrying or something. You can actually kill all of them going up on the ladder once if you don't die, but easier said than done. You start with the pawns that jump down on you and you have to parry them to knock their heads off. But even being decapitated doesn't stop them, so just knock all the heads off to win. The second is a knight. It's actually just a horse though, and all you have to do is wait him out for his attacks and then parry his that thing. Anyway, just keep hitting him and he'll die. Next up is the bishop. This one is pretty easy, you just have to put out the candles and then parry his head and dodge the bells. Then we have the rook. The rook is sharpening his axe and shoots out the heads of the people he's killed. You have to parry the heads back at him. Later in the fight, he will shoot light at you. Anyway, he can be difficult, but it's fun to combo and juggle with Miss Chalice. Finally, we have the queen. She will move back and forth in the foreground. There are 3 cannons to shoot at her. She will shoot jewels and a wave of pieces that you can parry to stop it. She isn't the toughest because she doesn't do that much and the attacks aren't that hard to avoid. You will be rewarded with coins for defeating them, but I'll talk about that later. After beating the final boss of the island, you can fight them all consecutively for an achievement. I really like the way they handled it. I love these parry fights better than the run and guns. Although you don't ever not get all the coins, but that's kind of the same for the run and gun. Well, now that we have all the ingredients, let's go back to Chef Saltbaker and make the Wonder Tart. Huh, wow, this is a little suspicious. Oh well, I really don't see a kitchen, so it's probably down here. Huh, man, this is really sus. Oh, hey, Chef. Oh, wow. Okay, I'll kill you too, I guess. The first phase of this boss is quite a lot. First, there's a fireball that bounces around and targets you through this phase, and the next one. The chef will make ingredients to throw your way. First is sugar that moves left to right or right to left that can be pink. Lemons that move around like boomerangs back and forth. Animal crackers that move up or down while going either left or right. Finally, strawberries that fall from the sky diagonally. Then the chef grows big and has you in his hand. Why doesn't he just crush you? Anyway, there are 4 salt shakers that take turns sneezing projectiles that can be pink. If you deal enough damage, they'll fly at Chef Saltbaker, damaging him. While all this happens, the chef throws leaves that float back and forth down from the sky. Oh, looks like the chef is dead. Oh wait, never mind, just broken. And he's a couple or something? There's a single saw on the ground. Definitely the hardest phase in the game, by far. Anyway, the final phase is the heart going around while you have to platform on pieces of glass. And you can parry the heart. We did it. We defeated the Chef Soul Baker. Our character saved the missing character's soul, and then Chef Baker just falls to the ground. Wait, he's still alive? I saw the grass from him? Whatever. Well, I guess Chalice is still dead, lol. Just kidding. Well, that's it for the story for the DLC. It's got a cute little comic strip for what happens to Chef Salt Baker. I honestly really like this design. It's a great fit for the theme. It may be simple, but it makes sense and doesn't need much else, so I'm satisfied. First, I want to talk about the map. First added from the DLC is a fast travel. It's really nice to not have to walk everywhere. It's also creative that they didn't just make it a menu, but a character with cool design. Now about the actual map from the DLC. I think it is designed very well, but I only say this because of how it is connected. Games like Mario U's map is not connected well at all, but it is very clear in this game that they care. Look how the grass stretches to the desert and the patches. It's clear to me that they thought it through, and the mountains even gradually get more snow. It's great. Alright, now here's what I think makes a DLC worth getting. First, there are 16 coins to collect. 1 in the tutorial from his Chalice, 1 on the map in a secret path, and 11 from the King's Challenges. And 3 from the NPC at the beginning. If you haven't fully completed this DLC, you might say that the NPCs are useless, but for the quest for the Roken Relic, it makes a change. Let's go over the charm, shall we? First, you must buy it from Pork Rind, and it is useless in this state. But if you decide to equip it and go down to the graveyard, you can see the ghosts that appear behind the gravestones. But if you look around, you will find a podium of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place. If you listen to them, it will give you a combination of directions. Once you get the right combination, there's a beam in the middle gravestone. You will fall asleep and go to a nightmare. Now I just want to say about how cool this is. Instead of there just being a combination on the ground or something, it actually took effort to put into dialogue. And it makes sense. Also, it isn't always the same. There are multiple combinations, which is nice. So you don't just immediately look it up anyway. So this boss fight is cool, but also kind of confusing. Like, who is this? Some people say this is the devil, but that doesn't make sense. Like, why is he so weak? It is really a good idea, depending on which way you're facing, is how the attacks work, which is very impressive. Alright, so now that you have awoken the charm, it makes you have 1 HP, but you can use every weapon without control. This may seem bad and not worth using, but that's because there's more. Before I try and tell you what to do next, you have to know that I'm not really sure if it is exactly how to do it, but it worked for me. So once you get it to be the Cursed Relic, you have to fight 5 bosses from the main story, and then 2 DLC bosses. Sounds like a lot, but it's completely worth it. Once this is done, you will gain access to the Divine Relic. What this does is when using the Relic, you get your normal 3 HP, plus all weapons switching when you stop shooting. You may be thinking, wow, that's not worth it at all. That's because it also has some charms. Smoke Dash, Whetstone, and of course, Heart Ring, which makes it completely worth it. Plus you get a cool Shadow Trail. It does take a while to do all of these, so there's more playtime. Also, there's a secret skin for Miss Chalice. You have to defeat every boss in the game with Miss Chalice to unlock it, which is really cool design. Well, this is the Miss category. The reason for this is for me to talk about little design choices and the music. So let's get into it. First, the music. And of course, starting is the starting of the game. The new intro music is phenomenal. Keeps the same feeling and also still has lyrics that stick in my mind and tell the story. They hit gold twice. You can tell how much they care when there's music just for the tutorial from Miss Chalice. The music all around is catchy. It all uses instruments and great beats. I never felt like the music was out of place or caught me off guard. But I will say, if you turn off the sound effects and just listen, you will be bopping your head to the amazing soundtrack. They did not disappoint. Next up are some things that I've noticed that I think are cool or cute little designs. There are other mountain faces in the background. Whenever the wizard changes into a snowman, the little snowmen in the background start cheering. When you die while on top of the plane, the guy driving will do a cute animation of being scared. Some of the things that get vacuumed are the sheriff badges, which works with the Wild West theme. The bombs that come down have spider webbing attached to them because it's a spider who brings them down. The amount of detail put into Cuphead is immeasurable, and the DLC is no different. I have to say this DLC is no letdown, and while some people are saying that it isn't worth the money or it's too short, I have to say this. If you decide to 100% the DLC, I think it's definitely worth $8. But for only completing the base bosses, I think it would be worth only around $5. But again, with all the secrets that you just aren't straight up told, I think it makes up for it, and it is definitely worth the wait. Just want to mention there are some Dajimmi the Great thing I found, and it said something about wishes, so I have no idea, but it only works for regular and simple mode. You activate it by spinning in a circle a bunch. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and comment if I missed something. I want to take this time to tell you that my channel is pretty new, so if you like my content, subscribe, because I literally have like 7, so thanks. Also, if the voice in this video sounds weird, it's because this is the first video scripted, so sorry about that. And remember to eat your vitamin gummy. My name is Chicken Fate, and I'll see you later. Bye bye!